Soccerlens TV. I'm Andy Brassel. Now, of course, we're going to be looking back at the best of the action from Europe this weekend as normal. A bit quiet in the English Premier League, of course. The big freeze in England, the Arctic weather conditions put in pay to a lot of the fixtures. Arsenal and Manchester United in the end failing to take advantage of Chelsea being out of action, both drawing. So the big game of the weekend for me was Sunday night's clash between Juventus and Milan. Now, of course, these two perennial title challengers, but a long way of realistically challenging Inter at the top this year, despite Inter's struggles in beating Siena on Saturday night. A thrilling comeback win, 3-2 down with just 4 minutes left, and coming back to win 4-3. So Juventus and Milan both really just trying to stay in touch at the top there. In the end, a disastrous night for Juventus, losing 3-0 at home in their fixture at the Stadio Olimpico, and possibly the end of their title challenge if there ever was one, and certainly, almost certainly, the end for Ciro Ferrara and his spell as coach at the club he used to play for. In fact, by the time you're watching this, he may no longer be Juventus coach. Reports lead us to believe that Gus Hiddink is poised to take over. Now, like a lot of coaches before him, Ferrara really damned by the failure of his signings to produce, and two in particular, Felipe Melo and Diego, in this game against Milan, really brought their struggles into perspective. They've both arrived in Turin with big reputations for lots of money, and really disappointed. Mel, the defensive midfielder who was so excellent for Fiorentina last season, has received a lot of criticism, but I think the failure of Diego to really fire has been something that's affected Juventus more, arguably. He's a guy we know from his time at Werder Bremen can grab a game by the scruff of the neck and really orchestrate the play, and he's failed to do that so far. Of course, he's moved into another footballing culture that he wasn't familiar with already, so we've got to allow him a bit of time to adapt. Of course, you don't always get that at the very biggest clubs. So I still feel pretty confident that Diego will be able to do this over time, but it's going to be one of Hiddink's biggest challenges if he does take over, to get the best out of Diego and Melo, of course, as well, because the team seems to be set up tactically for them to do really well. Of course, the problem for them on the night as well, they were missing Buffon and Trezeguet, two of their most experienced and important players, and Manninger not looking the most secure in goal, and Amaldi really flattering to deceive up front, put in contrast with his opposite number for Milan, Marco Borriello, who led the line absolutely fantastically. The key player for them on the night, Ronaldinho perhaps, scorer of 2 goals, and interesting in an interview with him last week where he said he's enjoying the best moments of his career, better even, he said, than Barcelona when he was winning the Champions League and winning the Spanish League with them. Now, I don't think we can say that he's quite up at the same level that he was when he was at his very best with Barcelona, when he was undoubtedly the best player in the world and possibly even the best of his generation. But nevertheless, I think it's a good sign and shows how much he's enjoying his football at the moment. We saw the joyous scenes at the end of the game against Juve last night, and it's clear he really feels important in the team, and he's really enjoying his game again, which is great, because he's a player who's brought so much joy to so many millions of football followers. I think it's interesting to see he's still feeling his way back to a certain extent, even though he's relatively influential for Milan. He struggles to bring that influence to bear in some of the very biggest games. But if he can continue his progress, that we certainly shouldn't rule him out of getting a place in the Brazil World Cup squad as a sort of pinch hitter. Certainly not in the first 11, but someone who can provide them with an extra option, as Dugner perhaps seeks to break open the more difficult matches in the latter stage of the competition. Now, staying with Serie A, another win for Fiorentina and another goal for Adrian Mutu on Sunday as well. And still the speculation will not go away, linking Mutu with a move to West Ham in the English Premier League. Now, it seems a little strange to me. I don't really see how West Ham could finance such a move. Mutu is a valuable player despite being 31 years old. He just turned 31 last week, but still he's a key player for Fiorentina, not just as a goal scorer, but someone who sets up play, pulls the strings as well. For this reason, if they could swing it by any stroke of luck, it would be a great thing for them, and a great thing for the Premier League. I think from the West Ham perspective, that they've some good players like Berami, Diamanti, Matthew Upson, but they're really lacking experience in other areas. Lots of promising young players that they've had to bring through with a financial shortfall, but another wise, experienced head, which is what Mutu is, as well as being good quality, would be most welcome for them. Mutu himself, he has some unfinished business in the Premier League, really. Of course, he was fired by Chelsea in 2004 after failing a drugs test. A really harsh decision, I feel, and obviously the repercussions of which he's still living with today, because of course he's gone to the Court of Arbitration for Sport over that ruling that he has to pay Chelsea compensation for his professional misconduct. But the way he's turned his life around since that fall from grace has been absolutely spectacular, and a real credit to him. He's been one of the best players in Serie A since returning to Italy, and he'd certainly be an asset to the English Premier League were he to arrive. Now, our last stop is in Spain, and another striker going through a difficult time at the moment, actually, Karim Benzema, who came out and said at Real Madrid the coach Pellegrini must just see me as a substitute at the moment, and that's certainly the case. Now, there was so much talk when Benzema arrived. Would they be able to vice Raúl out of the first team to give him a place? Well, it's not Raúl who's been his main competitor in the end, but Gonzalo Higuaín, someone who's been underestimated by people, not for the first time, but a splendid record at Real Madrid. Scored some important goals, even at the beginning of his period at the Bernabeu, where he was sometimes mocked in the press and by fans as Higuaín, rather roughly translated as samey or average, but he's proved he's anything but. He's struggled to get into the Argentina team, he's struggled to establish himself at Real Madrid, but he's done it by pure hard work and perseverance. Scoring again last night, he was there against Mallorca, he was their top scorer last year, of course, and he's been absolutely faultless, and he looks as if he's played himself into the Argentina World Cup squad as well. In those last couple of games, having an important influence for Maradona's side. But Benzema, he always knew when he went to the Bernabeu at this stage of the year before a World Cup, it was a big risk for him. But I think maybe a risk that it was necessary for him to take. He was struggling to make headway in the France team anyway, not looking very happy there. He admitted earlier in the season that he didn't really enjoy playing for France that much. Perhaps Dominic can be held responsible for not really finding the best area in which to play him, but nevertheless, Benzema's got plenty to prove before the end of the season, but he's being pretty philosophical about it. I think he realised if he waits, his time will come. Of course, Cristiano Ronaldo and Kaká have had fitness difficulties over the season, so there's no doubt he will get a crack if he keeps on persevering. Well, thanks for joining us again. You can catch up with my other stuff on www.alnornothingtv.net, a few editorials on there. Also, ask me any questions you want, leave them under the article here, or get hold of me on Twitter, twitter.com/Andy Battle for a reasonably prompt response. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the week's games, and hopefully it's not too cold where you are. We'll see you again next week.